Oh, hey, it's a beautiful day out there. It's too nice to be in the studio. Hey, I got an idea. What do you say? Coming with me? All right, let's go. Better. But I think we can do better. Hey everybody, Steve Atkinson here. I'm out in my studio outside today. I thought I'd come out and do a sketch for you on location, try this out and see how it goes. Now I live in Prescott, Arizona, and I managed to find the one place in Arizona where there's mosquitoes. so I won't be dawdling. It reminds me of when I used to go out in Minnesota when I lived there. These guys are just tiny compared to it, but there's a lot of them. So if they drain me, I've got plenty of water. So let me show you what I'm doing here today. There's the rock formation that I'm going to be drawing. That spire up there, I think, is what I'm going to kind of focus on and then run it down here. Now normally I would probably do several thumbnails, but because I'm being bombarded by all these skeeters, and I'm kind of a wimp, I'm going to go ahead and just get right into it. And I will show you my setup here. This is it here. I've got on a tripod, I've got my little masonite table, got my phone here, and a couple of pencils, and my other outside bag that has all of my different equipment in it. Got sketchbooks here and all my drawing tools down in here. So let's go on and get into it. What do you say? Okay, so we're all set up, ready to go. Intuitively, as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, I think I'm going to do this vertically. I just think it's it'd be a much more interesting composition if I do. So move that over there. So I've got a little rubber band here holding everything down. I keep my spiral, which is normally on the left-hand side, I keep it on the right-hand side because I'm left-handed. Okay, so basically what I normally will do is just give yourself general ideas to where you want everything to go. This is kind of how I'm going to have your eye lead down here towards the bottom. This will come down this way. And then what I really like to do is I like to give myself a frame. So I know exactly what I'm working into. Very rough. And I can move it around, erase it if I need to. But for right now, this is kind of what I'm working towards, I think. And I'm going to change the shape of this spire up a little bit. I'll try and put this picture of it up on the screen so you can see what I'm doing. But I am going to move things around so that they kind of work better. And this area here is all in shadow. I'm going to establish that right away. Bring this here. This is going to be not in shadow over here. I'm going to hold this edge with a couple of trees here. I'm going to hold this, bring your eye down, lead it with some of these trees that are in here. This all is in shadow here. This is in shadow as well. But this here, I'm going to have this so it's not quite in shadow. Okay, this side over here, that's in the light. And then we have more of these little tree shrubs up here. And then normally what I'd like to do is give myself a little cloud here that's really going to be nice and frame that. Helps to break up that, because right now it's just blue, but I would rather not have it all blue. Something simple, but definitely needs something up in there. Alright, and so let's say this is the shadow here. There's a rock here that's going to break that shape up a little. This comes down this way, here, and we've got some shrubs here. We've got some grasses on the ground. Now, this, as I'm looking at this, this is in shadow here. I can either do it in shadow or leave it open. Right now, I'm just going to go ahead and leave it open. I'm not going to put any shadows in there. I've been out here now for about 10 years. Used to live in Minnesota. I lived there for about 20 years, and you forget you forget the terror that are mosquitoes. Let's find out where these trees are. I'm going to break this little shape up, or this shadow shape, with a little bit of rock here. Don't want to get too much into the weeds there, so to speak. So bring this over here. These are all kind of rocks up in here. Just give the general idea very lightly. I'm not doing any of this very dark. I can change any or all of it that I want to as I go along. And then I'm going to break this into another little tree shrub here. And there's another. I want to kind of connect these, just trying to find that good composition of that I always talk about, unequal distribution of size and shape. Try and get these tree shapes defined a little bit better. Goes on in there. You don't want the same amount of detail in the shadows as you have in the lights. It's just one of those rules. It's either you concentrate on the details in the light areas or on the details in the shadow areas. And that's completely up to you. Generally, if it's a sunlit scene, out in the daylight, I'll put the details more in the sunlight. Let those shadows kind of fall away. Now, let me just show you here. There's a big divide up in this top rock here, and it's pretty close to being half. Maybe not quite, but it's close enough that it's not what I want. So I don't want to do that here. There's no reason for me to do that where it's split right in the center. So I'm going to split it a little farther over. And all you got to do is just follow the values that are there. You can make those cracks, you can make those rocks wherever you want them to be. Just use this other original as your guide. Generally when I'm doing rocks, I remember that the light that's falling, if something is in shadow, there's a darker, it's darker up here, darker and cooler towards the top where it hits that light. And then as it comes down here, there's more light falling into it, and it gets a little warmer. It's still cool, but it's warmer than what's up here. Now we're working in black and white, so there's no warm and cool, but it's always good to know those things. I kind of go with a stream of consciousness as I'm working here, talking with you. Got to do my grunge here. Gonna have to get my sharpener out here pretty soon. This Strathmore paper is eating through my sharpened pencils pretty quickly. Well, that's why you bring a sharpener, right? Okay. There is a nice big rock down here. It's going to help to soften some of this transition. This is shadow here. Now, this is a perfect example of me when I tell you, don't get lost in the details when you're doing stuff like this. It's so easy to be looking at what's going on in here and to do all kinds of, oh, I have to copy this rock exactly and that one. That is not the way to do it. You know, this is a piece of art that's going to be separate from what you're looking at. And so the most important thing is that you come away with something that reads like it's a piece of art, and nobody is going to care what the exact shape of these rocks is. So remember that when you're out here. You want to get the general size and shape of them, yes, but don't worry about trying to get the exact shape or the number of rocks. You know, I used to be crazy when I would come out here, and that's why it would take me so much time to do this, because I would really get into the details way before I should have. But even if I shouldn't have been getting into the details, I still did. And I knew that I shouldn't, and I couldn't help myself. I guess I would think that, well, if it didn't have the details, it wasn't going to look good. And then what I found was that I was always overworking things because I was too quickly getting into the details, and it didn't really read as a cohesive piece. You know, rather than molding where that light fell, I would do it exactly as it was, and it would be, it'd be okay. But eventually I learned that I could shape where everything went, and that would be always much better than trying to be exact. And you can stop every so often and take a look at what you're doing and see what can I take out? What can I move? What do I need to add in order for something to really work better? Remember, you're out here to sketch. You're not doing a finished charcoal drawing. That's a different exercise than this. What you're teaching your eye to do is find what's important and what isn't, and put down what's important and leave out what's not important. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. And when I'm getting into the areas where it's light, I can still put cracks in and things like that, but I just don't put them in as dark as I would in the shadows. And that may be the way you see it. You may see it as dark as what's going on in the shadow areas, but you're going to give a better impression that those rocks are being blasted by light if you don't have real darks in your light areas. So try that next time you're out and see if it doesn't help you a little bit. And another huge thing that I will say is I've learned this through trial and error and studying other paintings of painters that I really like. And you would be shocked at how little detail they put into the cracks and crevices when they're painting really complicated rock structures. Take a look at it when you're surfing other people's art and they do landscapes. You will be really surprised at how very little bit of detail and how very little cracks they put in their rocks. So don't feel like you need to put all that in there. Just hint at it and it's going to read so much better. Put some main structural cracks. Like this here. Okay, now I'm going to put some shadow in here, but I'm not going to put it as dark as I put it in other places. I'm going to go ahead and give this just a little bit. Now this is a little closer to me, so it can have a little more detail in it. But it's not the thing that I'm really looking to have you concentrate on. So I will put some extra detail in there, but not too much. A few grasses here to help lead your eye down. Very nice. All right. So as I think I'll pull some of these out here. Now you don't have to draw all those grasses in. You're just looking at giving people an idea that, okay, there's grass down here. Don't overdo it with how dark it is either. You don't want your eye down here. You know, you want your eye more up here. So I'll put a few more rocks here. So you can tell this is a bit of a rocky field. Boy, just in the short time I've been out here, this light has really changed on these rocks here. So as I was saying, sometimes I can lead your eye by not having all of the line weights the same. And so I can lead your eye through here and not get stuck up in there. Come down through here. I'm not doing those real dark, but just turning that so that it has a little more dimension. Also, here I'll darken it up, but then when it comes through here, I'm not going to make it quite as dark. Now I use the side of my pencil the way a lot of times you'll hear artists tell you to do that. It not only does it give you a wider line, especially for when you're doing shading like this, but it also helps to keep your pencil sharp. If I'm doing this, it's wearing it down. If I'm doing this, and turning it, it's constantly sharpening the pencil for me. And you'll notice that if you watch my fingers, I'm actually always kind of turning that pencil, try and keep it sharp. Eventually it'll wear down and I won't have any more graphite, and I'll have to sharpen it, but what I'm doing is I'm trying to reinforce the line that's coming down here, and then eventually it's going to spread out into these grasses. But yeah, I'm constantly getting my drawings dirty. It's just, I've tried to break myself of putting my hand down, and just haven't been able to do it. So now we'll just get a little bit of detail in here. I really don't want to do too much over in here. You know, maybe as this is going over towards the edge, I will lightly tone that to keep your eye from going over there, because I don't want it to. Alright, I think we've done enough damage here for one day. I could go in and in fact I probably will, just keep going in and working it so that it does what I want it to do. I don't feel like there's anything that's out of place or is missing anything. So I think I'll just go ahead and we'll leave it at that. All right, well, nothing like being outside and being able to do this, and just, I'll tell you, you feel so blessed when you're out here. And I really hope that this has helped you. I hope that you get out soon, and don't let anything hold you back. This will help you in your art so much. Get out. If you don't want to paint on location, I really recommend that you do, but if you don't want to paint on location, at least carry your sketch pad with you. And if you do that and you sit down, it's going to come to you easier and easier. Even the drawings that don't work, you're going to learn something from, so that the next drawing that you do, it's going to work for you. And you'll have all that experience in that bag of yours that you can, when you have a challenge, you're going to be able to look at it and say, oh, I better not do this, because I remember the last time I tried that. I put in too much detail. and everything fell apart. It didn't really read as a cohesive drawing. So get in there, get your general shapes first, and then you can go in with your pen or with your pencil and break it down little by little, rather than trying to do it all as you go along. I know there are people that start out and they're just in one little spot and they can do a beautiful drawing and work their way out. But generally, that's not the way I recommend you do it. And so start large, work small, save your details for the end. Kind of have a plan as you're going along. So anyways, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it. And I'll see you down the road.